Are you planning the music for your ceremony and reception? Do you want to avoid some common and costly mistakes? Stay tuned.
Welcome to Weddings with Zita. Here's your host and producer, Zita Christian.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I am so excited tonight to introduce you to a fantastic DJ, musician, vocalist, and he's also become a good friend of mine. We met at a wedding and then have seen each other at several occasions since then. Let me introduce you to Shawn Santanello. Shawn, thanks for being on the show.
It's a pleasure, Zita.
And for coming down from Massachusetts.
Absolutely.
That was really nice. Yeah.
My
So I
pleasure.
do want to mention, because I wanted to talk with you about your work as a DJ, because that's how I first was introduced to you.
Sure.
And then I found out you do so much more that's all still connected with wedding music. So tell me about the gamut.
Yeah, okay. So really at heart, and you know, from a very early age, I've been a musician, pretty much my whole life. So I kind of fell into actually wedding DJing as sort of a side thing, and quickly discovered that it shares a lot of commonalities with being a performer, which I've always been my whole life. So I really fell in love with it for a lot of the same reasons, and it's instead of sort of the spotlight being on me, it's on a great couple that and families and friends that I get to work with all the time. So.
Well, I know being an officiant and talking with couples and then going to their wedding, a lot of times I hear that there was a discussion early on about making a choice between using a DJ or having live music. And I know there are pros and cons for both. So could you share some of those with us? Because my thought is there are going to be people watching the show. Like if you're out there right now and you're planning your wedding, or if you have a brother who is planning a wedding and thinking about what are we going to do for music, Shawn has, because you do both live music and DJ, you got great perspective on this. So shed some light for us.
Yeah, it's it is a very tricky decision to make because there are, again, like you said, pros and cons to kind of both options. People love live music. Being someone who's been in a band again for over 20 years and pretty much a musician my whole life, I understand the perspective of wanting to hire live musicians and you get a full-on performance, and a lot of times wedding bands have full horn sections and string sections, and there's all these great things, and they're amazing. So the musician side of me understands why people would want. They have a certain unique energy and all of that. But there are other factors, a lot of people want to hear the hits or the songs the way that they know them.
Good point.
You know what I mean? So, especially when it comes time for dancing, during that portion of the evening, there's maybe for me, music taps into memories. So if it is a certain song that maybe you shared with, your sorority sisters in college or your friends in high school, you know what I mean? It brought you back to a specific point in time. There is specific ways that, music reacts in our brain, if you will, that tickles our soul, and so for that reason, a DJ makes things easier because you can just say, play this song. And also budget. Obviously everybody has a budget for their wedding, and obviously bands. There's much more involved, a lot more equipment, obviously more people.
More people, more equipment. Sure.
Exactly. So it tends to cost sometimes 2 and possibly 3 times even what you can achieve with a DJ, because now you're talking about one sole person.
But with the DJ, you can also control the volume, right? Somebody could say to the DJ, could you turn it down a little bit or turn it up a little bit? That's
a
hard to
great
do
point.
with a live band.
That is a great point. Yeah, it's really hard to turn down. I always say it's really hard to turn down drums. If you're using electronic kit or something, maybe you can get away with it. But generally, drummers have drums and they're loud. It's an acoustic instrument, so everything else around it kind of has to kind of vibe together. And like you said, it's harder to turn down a band of 6 to 8 to 10 people than it is one guy with, okay, this is where my music gets on my fader. I can bring it back a little bit if I need to.
Yeah.
Which is something you really need to be conscious of.
It is, and I think that it's a big decision what a couple decides for music. I just think it's important that they realize that there are really great things about both, and with either one, you can get fantastic effect.
Absolutely.
For the ceremony and the reception
Absolutely.
as well. Here in New England, we talk about a wedding season, and it's not like it is like in Florida or someplace where you've got 12 months. You don't have that up here. So our season is limited. I think usually from like maybe mid-April to the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, how far in advance do you suggest the couple, if they're booking you as a live vocalist or booking you as the DJ, if it makes any difference? How far in advance does a couple need to book?
You want to start at least, I would say at least give yourself a year. If you can.
A year, okay.
If you can, give yourself a year. Like right now, I'm booking into, 2016 is pretty much booked up. I'm booking into 2017 because that's, we've talked about it earlier as far as the first sort of things that get booked up, which is your venue, generally your photographer, and your music. Those are the three kind of hardest things to get. As far as what you want, if you kind of just throw caution to the wind and say, okay, well, we'll just pick that person or whatever. But for me, those are three of the most important pieces as far as the overall whole complete day. Those people are going to be with you every step of the way. So those are obviously the first to go. And if you're stuck, maybe you meet with a couple people and then you kind of drag your feet a little bit. Then sometimes you get what we call, you end up with whatever's left. And unfortunately, sometimes that's maybe someone that you weren't as interested in or didn't have a strong personal connection with. You just kind of, these other guys got booked up because we kind of dragged our feet.
Right.
So this is what we got stuck with. And, not to say that, your second or third choice may be bad, but it just might not be exactly what you want. So yeah, I would say again, at least a year. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good advice. A year.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to ask a little bit about your fees, not specifics, but because you do various things, I'm assuming that there are different fees for different services, correct?
Absolutely.
And is for your work, do you charge? Is there like an hourly rate? Is there a fee by the, like a by the hour or? We have a little microphone issue, I think, and we're just going to fix that right now. A little technical difficulty. So while that's being fixed, I'll just remind you that the show, Weddings with Zita, is where you will be inspired by the experts. And the expert I have with me right now is Shawn Santanello of Viren Entertainment.
Oh, thank you.
So we'll get back to that question now, Shawn.
Yes.
I think we've got the sound thing fixed.
Are we good?
So, talking about one of the things I really hope to help couples with is when they're planning a wedding, some couples come in, they've got an expandable budget, and some couples have a very restricted budget.
Sure.
And so how can you help the couple on the restricted budget? How can you help them to get the most for their money and to avoid costly mistakes?
Sure, that's a great question too. I tend to package things together as opposed to piecing things together a la carte. I think that helps. I also offer services like, uplighting and a photo booth too, which are, things that are huge successes at weddings. Yeah. People love them.
Oh, they love that photo booth.
They do. So, I think that if you can kind of package different things together and not have to select 3 or 4 or 5 different vendors, if you can kind of one-stop shop and not sacrifice quality, then that's a great way to kind of do it. Don't, or maybe other things you can do are kind of look at different places that you're spending money in your budget, and I don't know, maybe you don't need to spend $400 each on the centerpieces or something. You know what I mean? Like there are different little aspects that you can kind of cut corners, because there's the thing with a wedding is everything is sort of exponential, right? You can't just do one little thing. It's all right, well, one little thing times all of these tables or times all of these guests.
Yes.
So if you can kind of cut little corners here and there, you know, save $5 here and then multiply that out. All right, well, we just saved ourselves, I don't know, $300 or $500.
Yeah. It adds up so quickly.
It does. It really does. Yeah.
What about thinking about the couple who's on a really, really tight budget and they plan to play the music for the ceremony, because that's the part that I'm most familiar with, over the phone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did have one wedding where it worked beautifully, but it was a small wedding.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it works if there's a lot of people, unless you've got a fantastic sound system. So what are some of the pros and cons with that?
Well, even more so than just, you know, a sound system is weddings are all about timing. And making sure that transitions happen smoothly.
Yes.
That is so much of what I do. So much more than, you know, just be the guy who's playing the music. Guiding, you know, the participants of the wedding, be the bride, the groom, the couple, the families, the friends, whoever, the bridal party, guiding them from step to step. You know, not only coaching them ahead of time verbally and telling them physically where to go, but being conscious of musical cues and knowing that, you know, okay, well, we're going to have to, and you know, things like, okay, here's a perfect example. If you've got little kids in the wedding and, you know, the ring bearer or the flower girl is, you know, she stops. This happens all the time.
Yes.
You know, because they're kids and all of a sudden they're out and they're looking around, and well, when they did this at rehearsal the night before or whatever, there weren't all these people, and you know, everybody wasn't dressed up, and it wasn't this big event. So they freeze, or you know, or you know, all of these things that a professional needs to be sort of aware of and cognizant of in the moment, and be, you know, ready to shorten something, lengthen something, whatever, respond in real time to what's actually going on. And when you just have somebody who's kind of push play on their phone, you don't really have that. And if somebody, you know, God forbid, you know, freaks out or something happens, you know, there's not a whole lot of recourse, and it just, you know, it can make the situation uncomfortable.
It really can. And sometimes you have people walking in the bridal party, the wedding party, with no music. Yeah. Because it didn't work. Sure. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of things that, a lot of effects that could go wrong. Speaking of the music, have you ever been surprised by a couple's choice of music for the ceremony?
Yeah, I have. I've done things where, you know, people come into like video game music or, you know, just crazy things, but that's who they are. Yeah, those are the type of creative people that they are. And, you know, that is what I am all about. As I like to listen. And I know that this is what you do too. And this is why I love what you do, because when you hear what you do as an observer, you can tell that you clearly listened to, you know, the story of these two people.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And again, that is truly why I love what you do. And that is what I try to do too, from just, you know, from a musical perspective. So if it is something that is off the beaten path or different, you try and do it in a way that is effective, but also suiting and fitting, classy, and all of those things for the, you know, for the setting.
So maybe an instrumental version versus a version with lyrics.
Absolutely.
So, okay.
That's one of my favorite things to do. Is I'll offer people, especially for, you know, obviously the ceremony part. You know, traditionally, you know, it's either church music or classical, Vivaldi, Four Seasons, that kind of thing. But if you, a lot of these, there's so many of these different groups. I turn on people to, like, you know, the Vitamin String Quartet or piano guys who give these, you know, modern spins with, you know, again, in a string quartet sort of setting. So you have your classical feel, but in some of it, which appeals to kind of everyone because it's just sort of this lofty background music, but it's very pretty and dainty. But at the same time, somebody can say, "Oh, that's a Guns N' Roses
little
song.
familiar, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You could sort of disguise it in an appropriate way, and again, a way that might be okay. Our last couple that we worked with together, Eloyd and Letitia, she was a huge fan of Taylor Swift.
Yes.
And so I showed her this version of, a Taylor Swift song that she loved, and she was like, that's what I'm coming down the aisle to. As soon as she heard it, she connected with it. So yeah, it really, again, it does come down to finding out,
Well, I know that when we think about DJs and that whole idea of a catalog of music, it's not like it used to be where it's how many records are you carrying with you, in cases and everything. Now it's all different. It's digital. So in your catalog of digital music, I know you have a lot.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in one of those situations still where you had to download something at the last minute?
Sure, absolutely. Those situations come up occasionally where it's either, maybe it's something that's ethnic or heritage backgrounded, you know what I mean, where it may not be, I'll have something, but they want a specific song that's, maybe not in my catalog because of that. Or something that's, again, sort of unique to maybe it was a deep cut, if you will, in an old song or something that, that means something to the guests or again, kind of harping back to what we were talking about before. Something that makes this real connection to people. But
that's right.
Yeah. So,
do you have a favorite that you recommend? Something for the ceremony music, and a couple comes in. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I don't know where to start. They come in with a blank slate. Are there certain ones that are like always work?
Sure. If people are going down the more traditional classical feel, I always sort of guide them to Canon and D.
Oh, I love Canon and D.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of music, and it's not "Here Comes the Bride." Here Comes the Bride. I know, but "Here Comes the Bride" for a lot of the younger couples has become sort of, that was their parents' thing, that was their grandparents' thing. So the Canon and D, to me, what I kind of see is that it still maintains that classic sensibility and classical sensibility, and at the same time, it's not necessarily what their parents walk down to. You know what I mean?
Like the generational piece.
Sure. And plus, there's so many versions of it.
Oh yeah. I have a lot of them myself.
Yeah, I love playing that song. I love walking
Well,
around,
I want to talk about what doesn't work, but first I just want to let people in the audience know, if you're just joining us, the show is Weddings with Zita. I'm Zita Christian, and my guest is Shawn Santanello of Viren Entertainment. He's a DJ, vocalist, musician, and we have a lot of information to share. So what doesn't work? Like if a couple asks for something and you're thinking, I know because of the venue, or I know because of, you have 9 people in the bridal party versus 2 people in the bridal party, the length of something is important. What are the things that you factor in where those situations where you wind up saying, I don't think that's going to work?
Definitely, right off the bat, kind of something you alluded to, which is timing, especially when you have, a group of people who, we're professionals. We do this every weekend. These people maybe most of the time have never been in a wedding, or maybe 1 or 2. But so the timing and knowing the venue is big. So that knowing that it's really only going to take you 15 seconds, but in your mind you have this piece of music that's chosen that's 2 minutes long, and it's like, okay, well, that's not going to happen, because otherwise you'll be falling asleep while walking down the aisle, and 2 minutes magnified in that moment feels like 10.
It does. I have a photo that I want to show, and it occurred to me that because of conversations that we had the first wedding we worked at, the importance of the acoustics of the venue, and not just the acoustics whether you're outside or inside. Like this photo right here, you're outside, but also where you just mentioned the length of the distance that the wedding party is going to walk. All of those things matter. So when let's say you see in this photo, this is outside. This up at the Lord Jeffrey, I think.
Correct, yeah.
In the
Yep,
Lord
yep.
Jeffrey Inn up in Massachusetts, in Amherst. And what do you say to a couple when they want a piece of music and you know that it's not going to be long enough or it's going to be too long? How do you steer them away?
Well, I mean, I'll try to work with them as best as possible. You know, if it is something that they're, you know, dead set on as far as they like the piece of music,
Yeah.
the essence of it, you know, whether if it's something that's pre-recorded, something that I'm just playing through a sound system, you know, I can say, all right, well, you know, based on, you know, with my software, I can take this section and we can fade it in and, you know, find the best 20 seconds or 30 seconds, however,
Beautiful.
you know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the best kind of way to go about that.
I want to talk about another thing I know is really important. I have another photo here. I like this photo. It shows you in this really nice tan jacket and that really cool hat. But the reason I like this one so much is you're working with a microphone. So talk with me about the importance of being able to use a microphone.
Such an underestimated skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I've been a lead singer in a band for a long time, and I've kind of had to, you know, learn how to use microphone technique. And to give someone a microphone, you don't realize how, again, overestimated that it becomes in your head until you hand a microphone off to somebody and to give a toast and they're holding it at their waist, or they're telling a story and they're using their hands, but at the same time I need you to be centered, and you know that's what I coach these guys up before they give their speeches. I'm like, just hold it nice and close, write this, and just speak normally. And I can control a lot of it, you know, from the board and stuff like
Right.
that. But being able to use proper inflection and distance on a microphone is so important in order to give clarity and understanding for the
Yes.
guests that are at the.
Yeah, because the microphone is for the benefit so people can hear you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We have another photo here that I really like because you just mentioned, you know, you were a singer in a band, you know,
Yeah.
for a long time. So here's this photo is of you playing the guitar and singing.
Yep.
And I'm thinking about that when a couple wants that first song. Do you ever serenade them? I mean, is it ever a live piece of music?
All the time.
I mean, for you. I mean,
Yeah.
you're the one doing the singing. You
Sure,
do it?
yeah, that's exactly what that
Yeah.
picture is. That's inside at the Lord Jeffrey Inn, and we're inside the ballroom. So what I will do is we'll do the introductions, and usually you go right into their first dance. And I'll have a guitar set up with a microphone, and I love to be able to be a part of that moment, to be able to take a song that a couple loves and present it to them in a very unique, sort of once in a lifetime kind of, you know, opportunity, and give them that sort of, you know, not to be corny or cliche, but it's sort of my kind of gift to them, and to be in that moment
Yes.
with them. I love that opportunity, and it's very special for me too. You know, to be-
Yeah, I bet it's special for them too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to think it is.
Absolutely. You know, there's one more photo here too I want to get to, and this one shows you working with. This is a photographer or videographer, somebody at the reception.
That is Ian. He is a photographer's assistant.
All right, and the reason I liked this photo was because it speaks to the fact that vendors at a wedding need to work together. There's a lot of crossover where if you're playing the music, you need to know what I'm going to be doing, you know, as the officiant, and I need to know, you know, what your capabilities are, and like maybe if there's been some last minute changes, or if things aren't working quite right, that you will be able to do an on the spot adjustment to make sure that there will be music for the entire bridal party to enter, or something like that.
Absolutely,
or exactly when to
absolutely.
begin the recessional music.
Again, another sort of overlooked point that is a very major detail that kind of gets glossed over.
Yeah.
Is the teamwork, you know, aspect of what we do as professionals, and
Yes.
being able to work hand in hand, and like you said, crossing over. You know, if a photographer needs to go take certain people away for a photograph, well, I need to know that, because I need to know that I'm not going to bring them, obviously, onto the dance floor, do something with them that I need them to do, or, you know, even if it has nothing to do with the bridal party, I need to know from the back of the house that, okay, well, we're a little bit behind, so I need you to do this or that, or maybe you could fill in here or there. so it crosses over, because everybody has their tasks that they have to complete, and I become sort of, the central kind of hub, because I'm sort of the communicating between everybody else, and at the same time trying to keep the guests informed too.
Yeah, and it all looks so seamless.
Yeah,
and the food comes out at a certain time, and the music at a certain time. Everything just seems to work effortlessly.
Right, and again, to go back to your whole, question about DIY stuff, that is where you lose so much. And that's why hiring professionals to take away all of the stress and all of that, you don't ever have to worry about anything.
Makes a difference. So last photo that I have, and this was, I think, my favorite, this shows you at a soundboard and obviously having a great time. And when I saw this one, I thought, that's the kind of energy that a couple usually wants, so that it helps to pack that dance floor. And why is packing that dance floor so important? Now, how do you do it?
Well, I mean, that's the number one request of that's one of the first things everybody asks. I always ask people, what are they looking for? What are they not looking for? In a DJ, in their overall experience, basically. And they say, we don't care. We just want to have a great party and have everybody dance all night long.
So people have fun.
That's exactly what that's what they want. And just sort of knowing how to appease everyone and beat mix songs properly, so that you just keep bodies moving on the dance floor, regardless of the genre or the song itself, and sort of using my own personal energy, and not doing it over a microphone. Everybody has their own style, but my personal style is to, again, I move with the music. I kind of dance behind my little, I have a lot of fun, and I think that is reflective. And when people see me having fun, they kind of have fun with me, and so it's this sort of reciprocal thing, which, again, when it becomes interactive like that, it really does help to keep the party going on the dance floor, especially.
So, one question that this came to me from Alan Berg, who's a wedding guru.
Sure.
Oh, and I'm just seeing here, we're not going to have a lot of time. I'm going to ask you a real fast answer.
Okay.
Is age a factor in being a DJ?
As far as being a DJ, I do think it probably plays a part in who, who grooms and brides select. But I think overall, beyond age, is, again, more of that personality connection. You know what I mean? If you're a 75-year-old vendor and you connect with a 23-year-old couple because of, the personality, then exactly.
So, final question.
I don't think I want to be lugging speakers at 75.
No, I understand that too. Final question.
Yeah.
When couples write to you after the wedding, you get reviews and stuff.
Sure.
What do they rave about?
Again, just overall, the overall experience, and just, the dance floor was packed all night long, and that their guests tell them that it was one of the best weddings they had ever been to, and that, as time has passed, every time they see their friends, they're still beckoning back to what a great time they had, and how unique it was to sort of have a little bit of, of the live music stuff that I do, which is kind of different than.
So you get the combination.
Yeah.
Shawn, I have to thank you so very, very much.
Thank you
for
so
being
much.
On the show.
I appreciate it.
This was great. I learned a lot. I thought I knew most of these answers, but I was surprised. So I'm sure that the people in the audience were surprised too.
Yeah.
So I do want to thank you very much. That's Shawn Santanello, and his company is called Viren Entertainment, and you can get information on his website and contact him directly. I also want to thank my crew, and I want to thank you for watching. And I found this wonderful little quote by Dr. Seuss. You know you're in love when you can't fall asleep, because reality is so much better than the dream. I think is wonderful. If you want to see a repeat of the show, check us out on YouTube /Zita TV Network. And do join us again next time. Thank you.
Are you planning a wedding or renewing your vows? Let today's leading wedding vendors inspire and guide you. To learn about upcoming guests and join the discussion, like us on Facebook, Zita TV. Weddings with Zita is a program of Moon River Rituals. For more information, visit zitatv.com.